The Whispering Closet. I had always been the type of person who enjoyed solitude, especially at night. The world outside seemed to fall away, and the quiet comfort of my home wrapped around me like a protective shield. At least that's what I thought. The steady hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak of the wooden floorboards were like old friends, familiar and unthreatening. But one night, something in the silence changed. I was lying in bed, staring up at the ceiling in the pitch black, trying to fall asleep as usual when I heard it. It started as a soft, rustling sound, barely audible at first. My mind dismissed it as just the house settling or the wind brushing against the walls. But the longer I lay there, the more pronounced it became. It was coming from the closet. I knew this sound. It wasn't the usual creak of wood or the breeze nudging things around. This was different. It was deliberate. Something was moving inside the closet. Something or someone. I strained my ears, trying to discern whether it was just my imagination. But no matter how hard I tried to rationalize it, the sound grew louder. A fabric scraping against fabric, a shifting weight, as if something or someone was sifting through the clothes on the hangers. My pulse quickened, and I held my breath, hoping it would stop, but it didn't. It continued, like a slow, deliberate rhythm. The room felt different now. The temperature seemed to drop, but I told myself it was just the usual night chill. I pulled the covers tighter around me, trying to push down the rising panic. But then, out of nowhere, a sudden cold breeze brushed across my arm, sending a chill down my spine. My heart skipped a beat. The window was closed. There was no draft. The cold had come from within the room. From somewhere inside, something was bringing the cold with it. I pulled the covers up to my chin, trying to convince myself that it was nothing. But the cold didn't stop. It spread through the room, seeping into my bones, like an invisible presence moving through the air. I could feel it now, moving past my arms, down my legs, and I knew this wasn't normal. No draft, no breeze, no natural explanation could account for it. It was as if the room itself had suddenly become a tomb, and then it happened again, the rustling. But this time there was something else, something more, a low, almost imperceptible whisper floating from the closet, riding on the current of that unnatural cold. My blood ran cold. It was too clear to be a coincidence. It wasn't the wind, it wasn't my imagination. It was a voice, someone or something, whispering my name. I froze, my body went rigid with fear, unable to move, unable to breathe. The whisper came again, this time more insistent, more direct. "Come closer," it beckoned, and my whole body shuddered with terror. I tried to close my eyes to block it out, but the whisper lingered, as if it was somehow inside my head, as if it were waiting for me to act. And then the temperature dropped even further, impossibly low. The bed felt colder, the air thick with an unnatural chill that numbed my skin. I pulled the covers tighter, my heart racing, as the voice seemed to grow louder and more demanding. I thought about running, about jumping out of bed and escaping, but my body felt paralyzed, as though an unseen force was holding me down, making me stay still. My eyes flicked nervously to the closet, but I couldn't bring myself to look fully. I didn't want to see what was inside. I didn't want to know. But the sounds kept coming, the rustling of clothes, the slow movement of something or someone shifting inside. Then the temperature dropped again. The air became dense and oppressive, as if it was pressing against my chest, making it harder to breathe. I felt it, the sensation of something moving across the bed. It was slow, deliberate, like a cold, invisible hand brushing against my leg, then my arm. It felt wet, as if the entity was dripping with some cold, strange substance. It moved up my body, creeping along the length of my spine. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. It was as if I had no voice left. The whispering stopped. For a split second, everything was silent. I dared to peek from under the covers, my eyes cautiously scanning the room. I saw it. The closet door was now slightly ajar, more than it had been before, and a shadow was moving inside, coiling and writhing in the darkness. It wasn't just the darkness, it was something more. The darkness inside the closet seemed to have a life of its own. It swirled, twisting like smoke, and then it took form. It was tall, towering over the bed. It was more of a shape than a solid form, shifting and changing as it moved. Its limbs were too long, too thin, and its head was elongated, almost too large for its body. But the worst part were its eyes. Eyes that glowed, pale and piercing, like they could see right through me, deep into my soul. I wanted to turn away, to shut my eyes, but I couldn't. I was trapped in place, my body frozen with fear. The figure took a step forward, its long, spindly fingers dragging across the floor, making no sound at all, but I could feel the weight of its presence pressing down on me. The air grew colder still, and I felt a sharp, stabbing pain in my chest, as if the very atmosphere was suffocating me. It didn't speak. It didn't need to. The mere presence of it was enough to make my heart race and my thoughts scatter. Finally, it stopped at the foot of the bed. Looming over me, its glowing eyes locked onto mine. The whisper came again, only this time, it wasn't a whisper at all. It was a voice, low and guttural, vibrating through the air. "I'm here," it said, and the room seemed to shake with the force of the words. "Waiting for you." The figure leaned in closer, its face now inches from mine. I could feel the cold from its skin, a biting, numbing cold that burned as much as it froze. I couldn't scream, I couldn't move. I could only feel its breath, cold and wet, as it exhaled against my skin. The pressure on my chest became unbearable, and I thought for a moment that I might suffocate under the weight of the fear. Then, just as quickly as it had appeared, the figure vanished. The room warmed again, the cold disappearing, leaving only an unsettling silence behind. I didn't know how much time had passed. I was too afraid to look at the clock. The closet door was wide open now, as if the thing that had been there had stepped out. The room was still, but my heart was pounding in my chest. I lay there for what felt like hours, too terrified to move, to blink, to breathe too loudly. I couldn't sleep. I tried, but each time I closed my eyes, I saw those glowing eyes, heard that voice calling to me. The next morning, I checked the closet. It was empty. There was nothing there, but I knew better now. Something had been in that closet. Something had watched me. Something had been waiting for me. And as I left for work, I couldn't shake the feeling. That strange, cold presence followed me. I knew the closet hadn't been empty. It had never been empty.